this is the first motion capture.
Really?
It's funny how like none of it panned out.
The animation is so good. This episode is brought to you by Audible. Stick around to the end to see how you can get a free 30-day trial.
Welcome back to another episode of Visual Effects Artist React. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday morning Cheerios. We have some wonderful video clips which we'll display before you.
Oh, guys, the new Mortal Kombat trailer just dropped. It's super violent. It's right up our alley. I think we should take a look.
Wait, hold on. Before we even watch it, predictions. You know how they're like, we're gonna do like the epic White Stripes cover. Like it's like orchestral and heavier.
Yeah.
It's like, but the Mortal Kombat theme.
Here's more predictions.
Sub-Zero, oh, if someone says get over here. That's gonna be like the last line, by the way. You haven't seen Scorpion for the whole trailer, and we're like, boom, like who's that? And you're like, get over here. And then that's the end of the trailer.
When we got there, it tore through our unit in seconds.
Dude, I like your Sub-Zero. Their ice effects look great.
So far, no Mortal Kombat theme.
At the same time! You called both of those things. Oh my god.
That part where he cuts him and then freezes his blood and then uses that as a knife, it's like so cool. It's not just how it looks, but just like there's some great concepts in that.
They do a really good job of getting the translucent, almost like subsurface scattering effect from blood. I don't know if that's tracked in or not. It's hard to say. That could be a 3D model.
Probably.
It very easily could just be a 3D model that they tracked in. He just kind of grabs the air. He's like, huh.
I'm just saying that wizard barfing video that we made like decades ago is like that. It's just, that's like the cooler version of the wizards barfing.
I don't know, I personally prefer the frozen bullets coming out of the gun.
You know, the ice coming out of the gun there and like growing almost looks practical. It's so well done. Yeah, like the yellow light shining through it, plus like the cold blue light of like the flashlight on the gun also shining through it.
It really sells that it's ice, being transparent like that.
Yeah.
I can tell they have a really good action design team. All the visual effects are like so much cooler because of that.
It definitely seems that from the get-go, they are planning for the effects to complement the choreography.
Let's look at that CG fire here. Like this fire looks pretty decent. Getting the color for fire right is hard to do. It's still not quite there. Like when he throws his hand down, like that looks weird, like murky yellow. You look at behind him at the fire over his shoulder, like that's what the colors should
yeah, you're
look
totally
like.
right. The
Yeah.
fire in the background is how blown out it should be. Like, look at how blown out the fire is in this dragon shot. It's got a nice hot core to it where the most fire is. And then as it kind of cools off and goes towards the edges, you get more of that saturation of color back.
It's just a really well-crafted shot to make that feel real.
Overall, I'm hopeful for this movie.
Seriously, this is super cool. Like, this is just like a playground for cool VFX.
On day one, there were 2 people, and then 4, and then 16.
So I haven't seen Contagion.
When I watched it in the theaters, I was like, this is gonna be cool. It's gonna be like a zombie movie. And I was like, no, this is just kind of sad. Everyone got sick.
Well, it's because it's the realistic take on what a pandemic would actually do if it was legitimately like killing everyone. This is at the very end of the movie, but it takes place before the movie starts. This is kind of like revealing how the pandemic started following this bat. And so that's what they're proposing, is that it was a combination of the bat and a pig crossing over their own viruses that eventually passes over to humans, and that is what caused the deadly virus in this movie. But if we go back and look at those bats, hey, guess what? Not a single one of those bats were real.
That didn't even cross my mind. So that's a CG bat.
It's a CG bat.
Wow.
And it's the real footage plate of the bananas behind it, and they manipulated the bananas to move with the bat, but it's just really well done.
The animation's really well done.
Exactly, the animation is so good, because they realized bats never move smoothly. It's always just like... They did all of the animation in Maya, and guess what render engine they used to render this bat?
Mental Ray?
That's it, it's Mental Ray.
Oh, yes. Dude, Mental Ray is my jam. Mental Ray is what I grew up on. It became famous after the first Spider-Man film, because they used it on that.
The studio that did this bat, the previous bat they did was for Tropic Thunder right before Jablinski Games ate the bat.
They had some batting practice, is what you're trying to say. Outside the fact that the bat is animated really well and modeled really well with fur and all that kind of stuff, the way they directed these shots, like it's lit like an actual shot of somebody sitting there trying to get a bat to fly into a banana. Steven Soderbergh's not there going, I need to see the bat. Come on, bring the bat out. And they're like, oh, but there's no lights. He didn't light the scene. He's like, I don't care. Like, Steven Soderbergh's clearly going like, just make it look real.
What's the biggest bat?
Oh, dude, I will tell you what is the biggest bat. A flying fox there in Australia. They're like 3 feet wide. They literally look like dragons.
What? That looks like a dude in a costume.
Species.
So I pulled up this clip because there's some weird stuff in here. Yeah.
All right, so they're definitely doing a little face warp here, a little Andrew Kramer demon face effect.
Hey, what's up? Andrew Kramer here.
Oh, his arm's getting a lot longer.
He's got spikes for a head. Also, all these shots are locked off, you'll notice. They turned off all the extra variables so they could just focus on the thing they're doing. It doesn't look completely dead because it's on film and you get a little bit like that film gate weave.
Have you guys talked much about like motion tracking film like that?
No.
When you're trying to motion track film, even if your camera is on a tripod, there's still movement because each frame of that film as it's flying through the gate, there's just tiny, tiny little inconsistencies with the film basically either going back and forth or of it going up and down. And so it's incredibly difficult, especially if you want an object to just sit there in this nice locked off shot. It's like, no, there's still movement. You have to match that like fine, fine, fine wiggle that happens in the film. I don't know how they dealt with that.
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did either.
I think you just get wiggle. Oh man, not even a shadow on the rock.
H.R. Geiger actually did all the designs for this.
You can see the inspiration from Aliens, which are also designed by H.R. Geiger.
So Alien looks a little weird. You know, you're like, it's not realistic looking.
Why doesn't it look real there? What's wrong with that shot? Why does it not look real?
Motion.
No motion blur on the face. The arc of the jump is way off.
It looks like it's doing a leap forwards and then it doesn't like move forwards. All right, so motion blur, lighting, all the traditional issues. Okay, but like, how do you think this is animated?
Maybe do some motion capture. Motion capture is not even really a thing back in 1995.
No, not at all.
Actually, it is a thing in 1995, and I think this is the first motion capture.
Really?
So it's not motion capture with a person though. So there's a motion capture puppet they made. That's basically a full like recreation of the alien with tiny like sensors in all the joints that they had rigged up to a 3D model of the creature. So you could basically puppet this tiny like little robot doll and get your animation. Isn't that crazy?
That's actually really smart. It wasn't like there was animation software for like doing humanoids in an easy way. Like you could do it, but you have to sit there and brute force your way through it. Mm-hmm. So they just like jumped a whole like 5 to 10 years forward in software technology by setting up a puppet that now basically recreates what we can do in the computer.
It's funny how like none of it panned out. You know, that's the joke here is that like it still looks like janky like hand animate. Oh, I hate to say janky. Once again, we're talking about this movie like 25 years in the future.
I will also say, I bet you that shot, for as janky as it looks, the motion would be way jankier if it wasn't that puppet system. I bet you it'd look like Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Now seeing the context behind this alien, I love it, but I feel like the final execution doesn't quite work. You know, I want to see more ancient visual effects all the way back from the 90s. So leave a comment down below suggesting what we should take a look at.
I want to see these visual effects inscribed onto Mayan temples. Let's react to that.
Oh, maybe you'd like to meet a friend of mine.
Ed 209.
Whoa!
I watched RoboCop for the first time this weekend. I really enjoyed it.
Now it's time to erase that mistake.
The motion blur.
Yeah, you know, for how janky it is, like, it's so cool.
This guy's got feet, and he's still, hey, good for you. Oh!
That's it.
Praise him for it.
Like that's the point of this movie. It's like everyone thinks it's like a badass action film, but it's like it's
a
super.
comedy.
It's super weird.
Although I will say, their track mats are excellent. Like the opening shot when he walks into the room, like it actually looks like it's part of the scene.
One thing you'll note is that anytime there's stop motion in these shots, the overall quality of the film around it goes down. Like see how that guy's skin tone is like kind of faded and desaturated and yellow. I wonder if they actually didn't do track mats. I wonder if it's actually rear projection and then the stop motion
Oh my
thing
God!
is in front of it.
That would solve it. That would be so much easier, and it would also explain the degraded color of the film.
We have one of the all-star teams of special effects.
Oh, it is rear projected.
Hey, we called it.
That's super cool. That's a good catch. Look at that. That's sweet.
They're literally projecting the image and then recording that with another camera and hoping it like looks good. It's like the equivalent of like ripping a movie by going to the theater and recording it with the camera.
I was gonna say, it's exactly that. It's exactly that.
There's some great touches to how they're doing these shots though. Like the first shot when it walks out and it's dark and then the lights turn on. Like what a cool way to have like the lighting interact and like really make it feel real.
At what point in the movie does he start shooting all the dicks?
Actually, he does shoot the guy's dick off for real.
That happens once in the
real?
movie, and then they took that joke, and then they made a whole nother video over it.
Wait, I thought when he shoots them all, that's in the movie.
No, that scene is a remade scene. There's this like group of filmmakers called Fatal Farm. They took the scene where he saves the woman from the rapist. They remade it so well that Wren thought their remade scene was part of the original film.
It was a lot more dick than I would have liked to have seen in a day.
Oh, and then the horde comes, then the horde.
So the reason I'm crying is because we just watched a scene that we can't show on the YouTube channel. But
You can watch it on corridordigital.com.
It's not safe for any work.
It's 18 plus and very relevant to RoboCop.
yep.
Subscribe.
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 That's the end of the video. It's just silence.
This is the future of American justice.
So we saw what old RoboCop looks like. Let's just take a look at what new RoboCop looks like here.
But wasn't this is the one that just basically lost all the irony of the original. They're like, let's improve.
Edgy RoboCop. Dude, this is like angsty teenager RoboCop. Physics. If physics don't matter, then why should we care about anything? It's hard to pinpoint, like, these scenes don't really make me feel anything. It's hard to put my finger on, but I feel like it's because the impacts are still too small and too puffy. Like the explosions, how big those impacts should be. A great reference is the Pearl Harbor scene from Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor. Like, look at those squibs. Look at the thickness of the smoke. Look at how defined they are. Look at how fast they're moving. And you compare that to like little spark hits in the RoboCop, the CG RoboCop. It's just like when the spark hit is as big as two of my hands going like this, it's not big enough.
It's also one of those things of like, you set up the scene like, we want the scene where like 3 mechs are fighting RoboCop and everyone's got full auto guns and we're blasting everything. What it would look like is people would shoot their guns for like 10 seconds and then there would just be this thick cloud of smoke, so it's gonna be really foggy for the rest of the scene. The scene kind of forces them into a corner where they can't get realistic with the hit effects.
But you kind of need to embrace that and let that be your scene. Let it become thick and full of smoke. Another thing they could have done is not have the robots shoot fully automatic guns and have instead like treat them like they're cannons, like doof, 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 doof. So every shot is just like God's fist punching the wall, you know, or punching at RoboCop. So like you can anticipate each one, and it's like if one of those hits you, you're dead. Versus like, oh, I just gotta keep running. Woo, they're tickling me. It's like each one's just taking 1 off of his health bar. You know, one,
He definitely had that, So today's episode is brought to you by Audible, but really, this is just an excuse to talk about one of my favorite books of all time, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, because one of my life goals is to get as many people into the Cosmere as possible. And this book, oh my God, you guys are in for a roller coaster of entertainment. Imagine a world that is attacked by storms. Every other week, there's this massive storm that literally throws boulders through the sky. And you have these warring countries, and they have these plates of armor that are like giant, impenetrable samurai suits. And they have what are called shard blades. Imagine a sword that's like 6 feet long that can cut through anything without resistance. Imagine cutting through a giant, like 5 foot thick steel wall as if it's butter. It's kind of like a lightsaber, but better. And if it cuts through flesh, it doesn't actually cut the flesh, it just kills the flesh. It's so cool. Trust me, it's amazing. You will not be disappointed. If you want to get this book, The Way of Kings, it's the first book of the Stormlight Archive. All you got to do is go to audible.com/corridorcrew or simply text Corridor Crew to 500-500, and you will get a free 30-day trial. And of course, you'll get the entire Plus catalog, which includes thousands upon thousands of audiobooks, podcasts, originals. Of course, you'll get that free credit every single month. With the Plus membership, you don't have to just download, you can stream them directly from the app. It's very handy. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get back to some VFX that we are using our eyeballs to shift up and down depending on how we feel.
Thank you so much for watching. We're here every Saturday and every Sunday / other days of the week for other videos that we put out too. So if you haven't checked those out, consider checking them out. They're really cool. So you guys want to see my list? Oh, these are all from the comments. I'm gonna scroll really fast so you can't see what these are, but I got a lot.
Dude, the whole Contagion bat thing I took from the comments.
It's so cool seeing the movies that you recommend because we get to see new stuff, things we had never even dreamed of seeing or watching, and I don't know, it's cool. We learn, you learn, it's a win-win.